So, hi everyone. Thank you all for joining us with today. It's great to see you all here. So, today we will be diving into a topic how to ensure broken links don't break your cloud migration. So, we will be sharing some practical insights. You can all use it. So, feel free to reach out in the chat box for the questions. We will cover them at the end. Let's get started. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. We are joined by Anthony Ryman, the head of strategic partnerships at CloudFuze. He brings an extensive experience in helping organizations managing the large scale data across cloud platforms. We are pleased to have him with us today. So, over to you, Anthony.
Thank you, Abhigna. I appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm Anthony Raymond, Head of Strategic Partnerships here at CloudFuze. And I'll be walking us through hyperlinks and data integrity today in this webinar. Is the screen up? I know if I present fully here, just go ahead and let me know
Yes, Anthony.
if
You
that's a
can
little
see.
clearer.
Yeah.
Terrific. Thanks again, everybody, for joining. Today, we're going to talk about something that I've seen consistently become a major issue in enterprise migrations. And it's not just moving data, but preserving how that data actually works. So, specifically, embedded links, data relationships, and overall data integrity. Because in reality, a migration is only successful if the data is still usable after it moves to your target platform or destination. So let's go ahead and dive in. So CloudFuze, I'll keep it brief. We were founded in 2012. We've worked with enterprises across multiple industries to help them consolidate through migration and manage their data and applications post-migration through CloudFuze Manage, our governance platform. So CloudFuze focuses on two core areas. Migrate, which is moving data at scale across platforms, and manage, a governance application that helps with app license management, data management and optimization, and AI readiness. So we'll be touching on how those two work together to help companies migrate to the destination of their choice. Where we really differentiate is we don't just move the data, we preserve the context. So permissions, links, relationships, metadata. That's what we focus on because that's what enterprises actually rely on day to day. Below are some of the companies that we've helped migrate. Just a sampling there. And we are a proud Google partner and Microsoft partner. Last year, we won Google Partner of the Year for Google Workspace Technology Impact, and we were just listed in Gartner Market Research Guide for Microsoft governance platforms. So deeply ingrained with both teams. So this brings us to a pretty critical question that we ask at the start of any discovery. How many of your users rely on hyperlinks inside documents? So if we think about it, Excel files referencing other files, docs linking to shared folders, internal knowledge bases. Bottom line is most organizations underestimate it. The reality is your business runs on connected data, not isolated files. Next question. Are you aware what happens to those links during a migration? Because this is really where things start to break down, like literally. Most migration tools move files successfully. So they'll move files from source to destination. They'll bring permissions. They'll bring metadata over, but they don't preserve the relationships between them. And that's where the problem begins. So, real world data, it's not theoretical. This is based on what we see, what we hear. Just in the last year, over 300 companies have reached out to CloudFuze after a migration with broken hyperlink issues. And speaking from experience, that is a much more difficult problem to solve after the data has been migrated. Your users are typically straddling both platforms. It's not a great user experience. It's not a great position to be in. And it's difficult to resolve after the fact. We've done it, we can do it, but optimally, we recommend migrating the data with embedded links, and we'll get further into that as we work towards the solution here. But wanted to surface just how frequently we hear from clients that they're experiencing this issue and they don't have a solution. So do you know how broken hyperlinks impact operations? It's like what actually happens when a link breaks? Because it's not just an IT inconvenience, it impacts the entire business. So the consequences are both operational and financial. So when hyperlinks break, we typically see on the operational side, teams lose access to critical data, especially finance teams. They'll go in, they have very complex, Excel documents or Google Sheets that link to one another. They'll open those up and basically production comes to a halt. Those links are broken. They can't access the linked documents and productivity drops. On the financial impact side, migration delays are obviously going to generate additional costs for keeping servers online, things of that nature, additional IT effort for remediating or fixing those broken links manually, and potential compliance or audit risks. Your data governance is important. We don't want to get into the legal aspects of it, but obviously data fidelity and integrity is critical to enterprises. So what does this really turn out? What does this look like in terms of cost, manually fixing this? Like, let's put this in perspective, in terms of dollars and cents and the bottom line. So most organizations, if they experience this and the links are broken post-migration, most organizations will try to fix this manually. So we're looking at an example here with just 100,000 broken links. That would be, I would say, a modest size migration. We could see 100,000 broken links within 10 terabytes of data. So, it just depends on how heavily they're used. But even that at 3 minutes of fix, that's 5,000 hours of work at just call it a low number of $40 an hour. That's $200,000 just correcting the links, fixing the links, not accounting for loss in productivity, not accounting for, lack of poor user experience and all of the other factors there. So let's move on to the solution. The solution is CloudFuze Migrate. So how do we solve this? We solve this by addressing hyperlinks during migration, not afterwards. So CloudFuze scans files for embedded links. We rewrite them based on the new environment and ensure they work immediately post-migration. So when your users cut over and we do a final delta sync and they log in Monday morning to Microsoft or Google or whatever the target destination is, and they pull up that file, those links are working from the time that they've cut over, and they have an audit trail to check those links directly in their MyDrive, in their OneDrive, in the SharePoint or ShareDrive site. So your users have visibility to the links that were migrated, and they're all functioning, and they can pick up their work seamlessly in your new target environments. So the source stream, you'll see down here why use the source stream. It's really one of the most important concepts, and we operate from the source stream. Why? Because once files land in the destination, users start editing, structures change, links drift. So we have to leverage the source to ensure that we are accurately migrating and reconnecting those links in the destination. If you fix links after the migration, you're probably already too late. If you're trying to do that, usually files and folders have been moved, which means if you just reference the source at that point, you're going to be connecting it to it's not going to work. So we ensure accuracy and consistency from day one of go live. So CloudFuze Migrate is our migration product, and at a high level, it supports content. So files, folders, migration, permissions, versions, timestamps, embedded links, external shares, email, calendar, contacts. We convert meeting links to the platform of your choice if converting from platform to platform. Collaboration tools like Slack, Teams, Google Chat. and cross-platform migrations, whether that's Google to MS, Microsoft to Google, or tenant to tenant, Google to Google and Microsoft to Microsoft. The key differentiator is we preserve the relationships of your data between all of it. That's what most tools miss, and that's where companies, or that's why companies select CloudFuze for their migration. Moving on to the hyperlink migration process. So we're going to get a little bit deeper into the actual functionality of how we resolve links during migration. So the first step is we scan for embedded links. We analyze the source relationships. We rewrite links during migration, and we deliver fully functional files in the destination. Two key things to highlight: real-time correction. I know I keep saying that, but it's critical to success here, and no post-migration cleanup required. So when your team goes live, the links work, your files and folders and permissions are all set, your team can pick up their work seamlessly. That's the goal of any migration tool you choose, or at least that's our point of view. Um, the reason you're migrating is typically for consolidation, cost savings, improving operational efficiency, things of that nature. The last thing we want to do is delay that. So it's really critical that everything's working on day one when you go live in your new environment, and CloudFuze is here to support all aspects of that transformation and that migration. So we're going to show you actually how this works with a demo here. I'm going to hit start. You're going to start to see a document generated inbox where we are going to create some links, and we're going to show you those links migrated um, to Microsoft and the preservation of those links. So what exactly we did during migration, and then you can see that link functioning after it's been migrated. So right now we're on the box side. We're just establishing a couple links here. One thing to call out is we don't update the link text. It's the underlying URL that we update. So if link text, if the link has been labeled with specific text, that's not going to be altered. Also, another call out, if it's been just copied, and let's say it's a box.com link that's been dropped into the document, that's how it will appear on the Microsoft side. We don't change the link text, but the underlying URL, if you hover over it, will show you a SharePoint URL if migrating to Microsoft, or a Google Drive URL if migrating to ShareDrive or MyDrive. So now we're in CloudFuze Migrate, our migration product. This is our dashboard. We're selecting source and destination. So we selected Box and we selected SharePoint as the destination. So we'll be migrating this data into a SharePoint site. We're doing the mapping right now. So the content is mapped. We have a validation report that checks source and destination path and owner review to ensure there wasn't a typo and we're not starting a migration that's not going to complete. So we do have that check in the process. We validated permissions on the previous stage, and now we are selecting our options. So CloudFuze is a feature-rich migration platform. You can see all the options we have here. We're deselecting a couple that just don't apply to this migration demo, but you can see at the bottom there we have embedded links selected. So not only are we migrating the embedded links, we're migrating the content that comes along with it, the files and folders. We just hit start. Now we'll show you the comparison. So this is the migrated data. We're in a SharePoint now in the destination. We've opened up an Excel document. We've opened up the embedded links report document. So this is what your users would receive in their OneDrive at the root or at the root of each SharePoint site, showing a report on the embedded links that were migrated and the original path and the new path that was created by the CloudFuze migration tool during migration. Now we're pulling up a document in SharePoint. I'm going to show you how this rewrote the underlying link. So you can see there we have a SharePoint link, no longer a box.com URL. And if we just do a side-to-side comparison, this should paint the picture of how we handle migration of embedded links. And they work at the destination. So we can see here that has a box.com URL. So link text preserved, underlying URL is updated during migration to SharePoint URL so that when a user or Google Drive URL, so when a user opens that document, clicks on that link to pull up the source that the target file or folder that link redirects to, it opens seamlessly and the user can continue their work just as they were working on Box. So that's the completion of our CloudFuze Migrate demo on embedded links from Box to SharePoint. I'm just going to pause there. So moving on to the next slide, the business outcomes. So what does this translate to when it comes to your business? At the end of the day, it means zero link breakages, immediate usability of your files and folders post-migration, reduced cost, not having to remediate or having users have to manually update links post-migration. That production loss is real. We've seen it, we've heard it, and hence we've solved for it. And then faster time to value. So, as that's always a critical KPI when measuring a transformation, and CloudFuze Migrate helps you get that faster time to value with no disruption to end users. Now, obviously, there's many competitors in the migration space. This slide helps call out a couple of the reasons enterprises select CloudFuze and why CloudFuze Migrate stands out. So most tools, and I'm going to say relevant to embedded links here, but also touch on a couple other things. Most tools either don't support embedded links or they try to fix them after migration. So, in my experience, what that may look like is a third you're working with a migration company and they're using a third-party tool to resolve the links after migration. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just not the most seamless way. There's going to be some downtime pretty much required after migration. While those links are resolved, that's productivity loss. That is what we're trying to eliminate here. That's why we've brought embedded links capability native to the CloudFuze Migrate platform. So when you take that approach, the alternative approach to CloudFuze, it usually leads to partial success, manual cleanup, and hidden risks that you really don't surface until uh, kind of the worst time after the migration. CloudFuze is purpose-built. We're built for enterprise scale. We're built for complex environments, and we're built for high interdependency of data. So to summarize the differentiation, real-time hyperlink correction, end-to-end data integrity, enterprise scalability, and multi-workload support. It's not just a migration tool, it's a migration platform that's built for enterprise complexity. So a success story, and I've told this one a few times over my time here at CloudFuze. This was a win for us. It was a large migration for a major media conglomerate with 3 petabytes of data. So that's a large scale migration in our books, anything over a petabyte. They had about 23,000 users across their environments, and there were about 10 million hyperlinks or embedded links as part of this project. Their biggest concern, can we migrate without breaking everything? That was the question that kind of triggered our conversation with them as they were looking for a solution. And we were able to solve for that. So we were able to successfully migrate 10 million hyperlinks, resulting in massive savings in terms of no loss of productivity, a clean cutover to their target environments, and data integrity during cutover. Their users were easily able to find and start working in the target environment immediately after cutover. That's what success looks like during a migration. So that's going to kind of bring us to the end of the demo and webinar section here, we're going to move on to questions. I want to introduce Abhigna back on to share some questions from the audience.
Thank you, Anthony, for those insights. Before we go ahead, we would like to hear from you guys. Please take a moment to share your responses in the chat below. So we got a question, Anthony. Is
Awesome.
hyperlink yeah. Is hyperlink migration part of CloudFuze Migrate or an add-on product?
It's part of CloudFuze Migrate. It's a native capability. So it's part of the migration of files, folders, in our Migrate platform.
Yeah, sure. And
Happy to
once,
dive deeper into any specific environments or technical approaches if anybody has any questions on that.
okay, another one, Anthony. Can hyperlinks and permission be preserved during migration?
Absolutely. So we are able to preserve hyperlinks, permissions, metadata, shared links, external shares. So if you're sharing data externally outside of your organization, not only are we able to migrate it, we can actually surface it. So you can make a decision as to whether or not you want to migrate external permissions. They do sometimes introduce permission risk, and that is a major concern for companies adopting AI or implementing AI. So we have ways to scan through CloudFuze Manage to scan and identify permission risk prior to migration. Our philosophy is pretty straightforward. We want to clean up the data as much as possible before it migrates. So once your data lands in your target environment, it's clean. We've eliminated the raw and you can pick up work seamlessly. AI can ingest what needs to be ingested or indexed. It doesn't touch what you have guardrails around your data, so you know AI isn't indexing or scanning or able to read sensitive data. So those guardrails are set up, and then you can continue to govern with CloudFuze Manage post migration to ensure AI doesn't seep in and give visibility to sensitive documents. So yes, and yes, and yes. Big no.
Cool, Anthony. So can CloudFuze detect and fix broken links automatically during migration or after migration?
Yes, we do we detect links during my, can you repeat the question?
Can CloudFuze detect and fix broken links automatically during or after migration?
We automatically detect and fix links during migration.
Yeah.
So the process typically, or the flow, will migrate the files and folders first. Permissions will come across metadata, and then the final thing that is resolved in that workload is the embedded links because the files and folders need to be there. And then as additional files, because in large scale migrations, we're not migrating 1 terabyte, at a time. We're breaking it up into batches. There may be files or folders in different batches that have links to another batch. Those are resolved as that data makes it to its destination. So yes, they're all fixed during migration.
Great. So we have another one. What's the difference between manual link fixing versus automated hyperlink migration tools?
Time, resources, and costs. So manual fixing is going to be a heavy workload remediation process. We can use the slide here that we showed earlier. Give me one sec. But this is what something would look like in terms of costs to manually fix this. So 100,000 links were happen to be in this project, and you're looking at estimated costs of potentially $200,000. Let's just say it's $100,000, $50,000. The cost of utilizing CloudFuze, the difference in cost between a competitor, even if we are maybe a little higher priced, and that's not always the case, is going to offset any of the manual fixing costs for that approach. So we recommend getting your links fixed during migration so you don't have to manually remediate after migration. It brings up a whole different slew of challenges. If users are live in that environment, they're going to start moving data, their files, folders. They're going to start creating new files and folders. So it's rather difficult to remediate post migration with confidence.
Cool. So we have another one, Anthony. So can the tool handle millions of hyperlinks at scale without downtime?
Yes, so there is no downtime necessary for CloudFuze migrate. We migrate from source to destination. The number of links, the amount of data doesn't have an impact on our capability to migrate data and links and fix those links during migration. The amount of data typically just impacts the timeline, right? And the number of servers or resources that we need to spin up depending on the scope of work and exactly how we're going to deploy CloudFuze, migrate. But yes, we can handle as many links as you have. There's no limitation there. I think that addresses the question, Abigno.
Yes. Actually, we have some interesting question. How does CloudFuze Migrate make sure everything runs smoothly without disrupting business during large-scale migrations?
So we have a complete support team. So with CloudFuze, you have a dedicated migration team to help execute your migration. Migrations at large scale, enterprise scale, are complex. Typically, they're This is just my experience. Everybody has their own professional experience. My experience has been that most companies are not, migrating petabytes of data on, a weekly basis or even a yearly basis. So typically these are projects that are kind of one-off migration projects to help consolidate data to a new tenant or your centralized tenant, whatever it may be, depending on the use case. And CloudFuze supports that entire end-to-end migration process. So through a combination of CloudFuze Manage, our governance tool, which helps surface permission risk, AI readiness, duplicate files, we can clean up rot prior to migration to make sure we're only putting good data into your destination tenant. And then CloudFuze Migrate is supported by our team. It's also available for DIY, but for large scale migrations, we absolutely recommend hands-on support from a dedicated migration team within CloudFuze to execute, monitor, resolve conflicts, and ensure it's a seamless migration from source to destination. So that's how we do it. We do it with technology that's been proved out and support teams that have experience executing large scale migrations.
That's pretty good, Anthony. So we have a question here. Is there an easy way to check if the hyperlinks are all working after the migration is done?
Yes, there is. So we provide a report. It was in the demo. Not sure if I can scroll back to it really quickly here, but there is a report that we generate. We place it on the root of each user's OneDrive or MyDrive if Google or Microsoft is the destination. And then we also place it at the root of the shared drive or SharePoint site. So that is your, I would say, source of truth for embedded links migration. So those reports are there it is. Sorry, here I'm just trying to find where there it is. So this report on screen, assume this was at the user level and we were migrating into a user's OneDrive. they would have a personalized report showing every link that came from their Box, Dropbox, Google My Drive, whatever source drive that was being migrated to their OneDrive. It would show all of the links, the original file name, so where that link resided, what file that link was in, the link file name, so the link text, the path to that file, so a Box path, a Google path, a Microsoft path, Dropbox path, whatever the source path is, and the updated destination path that we've updated during migration and the updated link. So that's all provided in a report. We consider it a source of truth for all users to use after migration to validate that their embedded links were migrated successfully. If for some reason, and this can happen during migration, a target link file may be deleted. It may be moved, something along those lines. While our system will fix and clean those through Delta Sync, if a file is deleted, there's no link to recreate there. So you would have that on this report. Target file no longer exists, and you have a reason as to why that link wasn't resolved. All other links will be resolved, and you have reporting to track it.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. So how does CloudFuze ensure migrated data is clean and well linked?
How do we ensure it's clean and well linked? So after migration, we can do another pass with CloudFuze Manage to ensure to analyze permission risk, surface any public links if you did migrate public links. But we have reporting for all of this. So reports are provided after every batch, post-migration reports that validate the data migrated from source to destination. So reporting is really what we leverage in this case. We are not accessing your tenant directly. So we're not logging into your Microsoft tenant or Google tenant to spot check data. We use and we can get into the technology we use behind the scenes to check everything during migration. Happy to have that call as a follow-up call to this webinar if anybody's interested in taking a deeper technical dive. But I think that addresses the question, Amigna.
Yes, we are done, Anthony. Really appreciate everyone for taking time to join with us today. So we hope you found this session insightful. And a special thanks to our speaker, Anthony, for sharing such valuable perspectives with us. So if you have any further conversation with us, if you want any questions, answer, and any insights from us, you can please feel free to reach out to us. So thank you all. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining. Take
Thank
care.
you.